And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Traveling up. Roger, roger, planet.
Water power fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting downside FD off. Bring in FD off. Off. It's orange!
Orange 25! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
If there's methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Thanks. Keep that. Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Good afternoon or good evening. I don't really know when it becomes evening, but you're looking at a live view of Space Launch Complex 40 here at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, with Falcon 9 poised to launch yet another batch of, you guessed it, Starlink satellites. Today's mission is Starlink 6-35, so the 35th mission of the 6th group of Starlink V2 mini satellites. And yeah, pretty routine launch to, we're kicking off 2024 with a few Falcon 9 launches so far. This is the first of 2 launches happening this evening, actually, in Cape Canaveral. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. But first off, I want to introduce a few talented co-hosts I have along here with me today. First off, Adrian Bile. Adrian, good evening. How are we doing today?
We're doing absolutely great. This is, I can say with confidence, the second most exciting launch today out of the Cape. So I'm really looking forward to this one, and also to the one a bit later with Vulcan. So yeah, we have an action-packed day here. We just had an NSF Live. Now we have Starlink. We have Vulcan coming up. What a day!
We really do, and I gotta say, I mean, we were discussing it before, and I'm super excited for Vulcan. But of course, this is a nice appetizer to start the night off, right? Get like a little teaser, get in with the routine Falcon 9 launch, and then I don't know, go for the main course with Vulcan tonight. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, the other person joining us here tonight is Max Evans out in the field with the camera, giving you this live view of Falcon 9 on the launch pad. Max, how are we doing this not that late evening for a Starlink launch?
I know, can it be? Like there's a Falcon 9 on the pad and we can see it in daytime.
Right.
I would say good evening. We are less than 1 hour from sunset now, so I would classify this as good evening, everybody.
I guess so. Yeah. Good evening, everybody. So yeah, we're just under 40 minutes away from launch. I guess to be specific, just under 38 minutes until liftoff. We're about 2.5 minutes away from propellant startup, or propellant loading starting up, if we are on track for our current T0. But real quick, before we kind of get into our countdown and start, discussing our questions. And first off, if you do have any questions regarding, this launch tonight, maybe we could talk a little bit about Vulcan 2 later, anything about Starship, Starlink, hit us in the chat with @NASA Spaceflight. We're testing out some new software here on our back end. We want to make sure that it's working properly, so give us all your questions. We want to hear them. So Adrian, do you want to kind of give our viewers a bit of an overlook as to what this mission tonight is entailing, what we have on board, and what to expect?
Yeah, of course. We are seeing the Starlink 6-35 mission, which is expected to carry 23 more Starlink V2 mini satellites to low Earth orbit. The booster for this mission today is B1067, which will do its 16th flight, and after that return to a shortfall of Gravitas, which is stationed in the Atlantic Ocean to carry this booster hopefully safely back to home. Overall, I don't want to say your standard Starlink mission, because it's still a 16th reflight of a booster. It's still a very high cadence they're hitting here. So we're kind of kicking off the year here, right? With some more launches here, and Starlink and SpaceX are not stopping from their cadence at the late phases of 2023, and are already launching again a lot in 2024.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
you mentioned this is the 16th flight of booster 1067, which is, I think it's approaching fleet leader. I think the fleet leader is 1061-17. Is that the correct one? There's so many I'm losing track of right now. But yeah, this is Chris W here was asking, is this the new fleet leader for Falcon 9? And no, as far as I know, it's getting up there. It's not the number one fleet leader, but it's getting really high up in the launch. I mean, 16 is a lot of launches.
Yeah, it's right now we have a B. Let me. I think it's B1060 with 17 launches. If I'm not super, and also B1061 with 17 launches. So this one is just short of a fleet leader, but yeah, we're getting there. It's kind of impressive because you also have 63, which is on 15, I think. So there's a lot of flights going on at this point at SpaceX, and you have these really, especially these 60 boosters, like in the mid 60s, and also like the early 70 boosters, which are really pushing into like high flight amounts. And again, we are approaching 20 rapidly, which is kind of impressive.
Yeah,
It
this
really
current
is.
Falcon 9 fleet is getting kind of old. I mean, there's a handful of boosters now, a handful of boosters now at or above 15 flights, both here in Florida and also over in Vandenberg as well. So this fleet's getting up there in age and flight time.
Yeah,
It
it's
is.
you really see them trying to roll out these new boosters all from time to time, and like especially on these high-profile customer missions, get them in. But I mean, Starlink ages boosters quite fast because you're always, once they are available for Starlink, they're just using them for Starlink because they don't want to have boosters lying around. But I mean, with the sad loss of a certain booster, I guess we will see them even more pushing for another like integration into the fleet and one more booster in there because they just lost one.
They did. And also, you mentioned Starlinks are really churning through booster times. When they get to return to launch site missions for return to launch site landings for Starlink launches, it's only going to get faster. You're going to save, that depending on your mission, like 2 to 3 days that you spend out at sea, and then you have to go back to the port, tear it down at the port, bring it back over the road. You're going to save a few days of time and turnaround there, and that's really going to help increase your cadence even more. And it's not too long until we're going to see boosters become 1060-20 and so on, and that's going to be very exciting to see. James Atkins. Sorry, go ahead.
Just a quick note, we are also not that far away from the first booster no longer being B10, but B11, which, I mean, they will still need some bit more time, but we are already in the 80s. So,
Yeah.
not that far away anymore from B1100 or something like that.
1100. Because they're going to be churning through boosters regardless with Falcon Heavy. It seems like most Falcon Heavy missions are using center core expendability. So you're going to be throwing away a center core each time you fly to get that extra performance. So that alone is going to keep, bringing the numbers up booster by booster by booster. We're pretty close to the 90s now. I think we've seen up to about 84, 85 on the test stand, if I recall correctly. Alex is definitely going to correct me on that one, but we're getting up there in numbers, and it's like you said, I'm excited to see the 11s come online soon.
But 84 is the highest.
84, gotcha. All right. So I want to thank some support we've got. We've got a lot of support so far in the 6 minutes we've been streaming. So first off, thank you to everyone for hopping in right now. Oh, hello, buddy.
Bird.
He's not blocking the view. I'll say. Oh, now he is. We got to get a little like a bird siren or something out there. It's important to remember Cape Canaveral Space Force Station is on a wildlife refuge. Also, there's a helicopter in the background, a Coast Guard helicopter. There's a lot of wildlife around there. I mean, Max has seen alligators. We see birds. There's eagles. There's pelican. What was the bird that we saw on Fleet Cam there just a minute ago? I'm not.
It was a pelican. Yes.
I'm not a birdologist. I don't know this stuff.
That's pretty sure a pelican.
Looks like it, yeah. But so it's cool to see all the wildlife out there. Real quick, we have a $20 super chat from Snotguard in here saying, thanks for the consistently great coverage. They're hoping to attend their first launch in person in just a few weeks. Well, Snotguard, first off, thank you for your support. We really appreciate to see that so quickly in the stream. But also, good luck with your launch. And I'm curious, what launch are you trying to see? Falcon 9, Falcon 9 is basically one of the only launches you can see from Cape Canaveral nowadays. But very exciting, and we wish you all the best with that. Chris W. has gifted 5 Red Team memberships. Thank you, Chris, a common name that we see. Ground umbilical carrier plate, which is a Excellent username, I gotta say. With a $5 super chat, they're saying they've been feeling nostalgic today. Could someone explain what the 4 towers are for? Max, would you be willing to explain to our ground umbilical carrier plate here what the 4 towers are for?
Oh goodness gracious. So for this, I will give two answers, and I've said this many months ago, back when I first started. I first began streaming with the team. That whenever somebody asks that question, the answer will always just be yes. But I'm feeling nice today, so I guess I guess I'll answer the question truthfully.
Lucky. Max
So,
is rarely nice.
oh man. Um, so the 4 towers currently at the perimeter of Slick 40 are lightning towers, and those are meant to. I don't want to say distract is the wrong word, but they are meant to keep any lightning strikes that would be around the area away from the actual launch complex and launch hardware itself, and of course critically the rocket. Um, and so they have catenary wires running in between each and down to the ground from each to help disperse the charge away. Because the last thing you want is to have a lightning strike on a fully fueled rocket, because that would turn into a bad day for a lot of people. And that brand new, I guess you could say, fifth tower now, right smack dab in the middle, is SpaceX's brand new crew access tower. Um, so that is not yet operational. They have not yet flown crew from it, but it has been recently completed in the last couple of months, with the final addition of the crew access arm, which you can kind of see toward the very top of the tower, on the right hand side. So we were thinking, or we were predicting rather, that Axiom 3 would be the first crew to fly from this brand new crew access tower, but that is not the case anymore. So it's still up in the air of which crew will fly first, but those are the 5 towers.
I guess you could say since they haven't launched crew yet, it's not
Yeah.
yet up in the air.
Yeah, I
Oh,
was
geez.
about to make the same. Yeah, yep.
See, Adrian and I are sharing the same one brain cell today.
Yep.
Also, speaking of the 4 towers, we have at shop.nasaspaceflight.com 4 towers merch, and it's kind of out of date at this point. You're missing the 5th tower, but still, pick up some 4 towers
Noted.
merch with a nice lightning pun. And of course, I love how the shape of lightning is in the shape of Florida. That's a very, very nice little bit there. So yeah, support the 4 towers and support blocking lightning from your rocket with our 4 towers merch at shop.nasaspaceflight.com.
I believe it's hard to see, but I imagine I can see some, because propellant loading is underway. That is confirmed. Just to point that out, by the way, propellant loading is underway.
Oh yeah, we've been very
On this-
sidetracked.
Yeah, we are off the rails. But yeah, overall, propellant is already going into Falcon 9 for today's mission, and I believe you can see some frost on the rocket already. If I'm not completely weirding out
Yep.
here. So
Yeah, I'm just seeing some frost at the bottom of the LOX tank now, so fueling is underway.
Yep, and that propellant loading, so there is RP1 or refined kerosene being loaded into the first stage and second stage right now, and liquid oxygen is being loaded into just the first stage right now. There's no liquid oxygen loading into the second stage. We'll kind of discuss a bit more about that later. But yeah, that's going to start at T-minus 16 minutes. But before we get there, there's going to be a really nice indicator about when liquid oxygen loading starts, and we'll talk to you about that about T-minus 21 minutes or so. We do have a few more questions here, though. Thank you for that super chat about the 4 towers. I'd like to thank Sanity Bites for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. Thank you for your support there and giving back to the community. Terry, the Full Metal Chef, has become a Pad Rat member. Thanks, Terry. We hope you enjoy all your membership benefits. Apocalypse Cow was gifted 5 Red Team memberships, another common name we see there. Thank you for all your support. Let's see. We have another Pad Rat member from Karen Ingrande. Thank you Ingrand. Thank you very much, Karen. We appreciate your membership there and hope you enjoy everything that comes along with it. Musical Wolves is asking with a $2 super chat, how much longer until an RTLS or return to launch site Starlink? We don't really know exactly when, do we? We know there's been permitting about RTLS Starlink missions. I think it's like 637 is the first mission they're planning. Do we know, Adrian?
I think it's also like this weird thing where they are keeping that option, maybe if they need like more time with the drone ships, and because it seems like this is all about like, oh, we have a drone ship not available in that time frame probably, so we'll do an RTLS to increase cadence. So yeah, I think the S-37 is the potential. Like there is a potential coming up in the future, but I feel like it's not yet fully confirmed which one it will exactly be. It might just pop up on us and suddenly it will be an RTLS. So we'll have to wait and see. But I feel pretty confident that we will see it very soon.
Yeah, and Max, I believe I've heard that one of the drone ships is going in for servicing. Is that true? I believe Just Read the Instructions has gone in.
Yeah, last we checked, Just Read the Instructions just went into dry dock for some servicing and I guess some repairs because it has seen. Its last recovery was adventurous, I guess you could say. So, and it's also, I think, currently the oldest in their Atlantic fleet. So, might have been wise to bring it in for some, I guess. What's the term I'm thinking of? Well, I
Tentative
guess
repair.
Refurbishment?
refurbishment, but TLC,
Yeah.
TLC,
Yep.
tender loving care. How about that?
Perfect. And yeah, also they do need a new octograbber for that because the octograbber on Just Read the Instructions kind of got smashed when 1058 fell over, kind of ripped one of the arms off the octograbber. What a nightmare that was. So yeah, they're gonna either need to repair it or build a brand new one, and we're gonna need to wait and see what happens on that end.
And this is my daily check if the internet is yet over the loss of a booster, where I check the chat if people are still sad about this booster.
I am
Nope.
still sad,
Nope,
We are
still not
still
over
sad.
it. I see it. I see it.
We are
Not
still
over it.
sad.
given that the
And
worm logo
I'm
is the
honestly,
best logo. I'm sad.
I'm surprised nobody mentioned it when talking about Falcon 9 fleet leaders because up until its demise, B-1058, I guess still technically is the fleet leader because it did complete 19 flights successfully.
It did,
Um,
yeah.
so I guess until a booster surpasses that, while it may not be active anymore, it still is technically the fleet leader, but
I
it's
wouldn't
not the
call it.
active leader.
I would call it. It was the fleet leader because technically it doesn't exist anymore, so it cannot be it, right?
Well, it does exist, but just in multiple pieces.
I mean, yeah, technically yes.
It just isn't operational anymore.
It was the fleet leader, we'll say.
It's
All right.
it's a fleet leader in a fleet where it's no longer in.
Yeah. Thank you, Adrian. Thanks, Musical Wolves, as well for the super chat. From SA, we have a $10 super chat saying, Happy launch day, guys. They just got to Cocoa Beach, and they're asking, will there be a jellyfish on this Starlink launch? Max, do you think there's going to be a jellyfish on this launch, or are we too early in the day?
I think to some extent we will, most in particular with the second stage, because we are flying just after sunset here. And it is going to be pretty dark because of some cloud cover in the area. So depending on the visibility you'll have of the second stage wherever you are, potentially. So I don't want to get anyone's hopes up too high, but just maybe.
Gotcha. Thank you for that, Max. And yeah, I mean, you're still gonna see a very cool launch either way. Maybe not necessarily a full-on jellyfish, but it's still gonna look really cool. So thank you, SA, and we hope you enjoy the launch tonight, and we hope that you get to see Vulcan as well. After the T-minus 20-minute event, Adrian, I want to discuss Vulcan a little bit with you. Paul Batra here saying, with a $20 super chat saying, let's go, they love this stuff, and I agree, Paul. This is the stuff I live for. I love rocket launches, and I love seeing how commonplace they've become. It's awesome to see. Thank you for this.
I want to quickly want something out because I see some confusion here in the chat, and we had the same confusion in the back channel. Yes, the frost is not really that visible today, but as far as we know, it's still going into the countdown. It's correct me if I'm wrong, Max. It comes down to weather, right?
Absolutely, and most in particular the humidity in the air. And miraculously tonight, it is not humid at all, and we are well above dew point right now. So I'm looking through my own camera right now, trying to get a visual on the prop line in the LOX tank, and I wasn't seeing the frost line growing, but I'm still seeing some vapor come off of the side of the tank. So they are definitely still prop loading. There's still LOX being pumped into that first stage, but because it's not humid at all, really, there isn't a ton of ice building on the outside of the booster.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you could see a little bit of a frost patch building up towards the middle of the liquid oxygen tank. Also, some little bit of condensation and venting from the base of the vehicle just now. So, yeah, we are in propellant loading. There's propellant on board the vehicle, but like you said, Max, the humidity plays a major part in this, and so it's not really, that tough to that not that easy to see today.
And I want to point out as well, real quick, that no matter how sooty the booster is, if it's humid enough, regardless, ice will still form, and the booster will go from pretty much like black or dark brown to pure white because the ice forms on top of the soot. But that is not the case today because there is hardly any ice on it. Oh, and speaking of the devil, I believe that is the 20-minute vent now
And
underway.
what a great indicator that we are on track for today's countdown. Adrian, do you want to give us an overview of why this event is important, what it is really?
It basically signals the wrapping up of the RP1 loading on the second stage, and because they are loading for the first stage, they are doing kind of both at the same time. For the second stage, they first finish one thing, which is the RP1 rocket grade kerosene loading, and now they are purging the lines and preparing for second stage LOX loading, which will start at or continue at 16 minutes before T0. But this is basically the change in that regard and the switch from one step to another. So yeah, that signals, by the way, just to confirm if somebody was still worried about the missing frost, this is a great signal for us right now to signal everything is underway and the countdown is progressing as expected.
Beautiful. And that's great to see. That's going to continue for about 2-3 more minutes. And then we're going to get to second stage liquid oxygen loading. So that's a quick overview about what we're going to be seeing coming up here. We're going to get to a few more questions. I want to thank a few more people over their support quickly. Retro Clinic has gifted £5, or the squiggly L's, as Jack likes to say, saying go Falcon, go Hugo, and go Starship, or Starship heart emojis that are unique to our members, for our channel members. So thank you for that, Retro Clinic. Stefan Batist with a €2 super chat saying there are 5 towers, correcting us earlier when we said there are 4 towers. And yes, there are now 5 towers. So thank you for that correction there, Stefan. Bubba has become a Pad Rat member. Thank you for that, and we hope you enjoy everything with that. And Bastian Velikoop, I apologize if I mispronounced that, has gifted 1 Red Team membership. And last but not least, Morgan Matthews with a £5 super chat saying, UK resident here and thankful for channels like yours where we can see incredible space events that do not happen over here. This is a bucket list item. Well, Morgan, I hope you can make it to the US for some rocket launch because I'm sure Max can agree with me here. It is an incredible experience to see one up close.
I can absolutely confirm 100%.
Awesome. So, as we're getting into the countdown here of the Starlink mission, Adrian, we've talked a lot about another rocket that is launching just under 2.5 kilometers away from the launch pad right now. So what's up with Vulcan? Can you give us a quick overview of what to expect tonight, and are we streaming this launch?
Yes. First, to address that, yes. I think everybody at NSF at this point is very excited for this rocket there, which is Vulcan Centaur, which will go for its first flight for the Peregrine Mission 1 to the moon. It will go to the moon tonight now I'm blanking on the UTC time, but I'm filling up with the situation that we will see the first time that this rocket launches tonight, and they're, as far as we know, are still on track. And so we will stream that. Yes, NSF will be present for Vulcan. I can tell you there's a lot of people here that are very, very excited to see this launch as early as 7:18 a.m. UTC.
Yeah,
Which,
just to convert that to your time zone real quick, it is exactly 9 hours away, 9 hours away from right now. So, set your watches accordingly. 9 hours from right now.
And also use Next Spaceflight, which always gives you the ability to see it in your local time zone. And I'll just another update from ULA. ULA said the rocket is powered up and on track as of 10 minutes ago. So
Beautiful.
We might see some nice BE4s, some nice methane flames in the night sky tonight, especially Max. Max, you have the lucky position of all of the 3 here to actually see this. So how are you feeling about Vulcan?
We live in an absolutely crazy time. If you just rewind, not even 2 weeks ago, or just over a week, we had Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy launching within 3 hours of each other. And now, less than 2 weeks later, we have 2 rockets on adjacent pads flying within hours of each other, which is just berserk. It's so crazy to think about. But I am so excited for Vulcan. And of course, with all of its delays, it certainly has built up a lot of anticipation and excitement as well. Um, I'm honestly just interested to see how the exhaust from the BE4s is going to look in
Yes.
with comparison to the SRBs.
Yes.
So I currently have 4 cameras out over at Slick 41 as of this morning, and 2 of those may or may not be focused on the exhaust of the first stage of Vulcan. So the excitement here is palpable, and the air here is just electric. We are so excited.
The one thing I'm so excited about with this new age of methane is, so blue's my favorite color, and to see blue exhaust or purple exhaust is it's so cool, and it seems so sci-fi because we've been so used to, flamey yellow, red, orange exhaust, and I was
Yes.
no, it's purple. It looks like a plasma thruster or something. It's so cool, and I cannot wait, like you mentioned, to see the contrast between the bright yellow SRB plume versus the purplish blue BE4 plume. I cannot wait to see your pictures up close. It's going to look unbelievable.
We have become so accustomed to how the exhaust looks from an RP1 liquid oxygen mix, because that's all Falcon 9 has been for its entire life. And occasionally, and well, actually most often, Atlas 5 also uses solids as well with its RD180, which also runs in Keralox. We are treated occasionally with Hydrolox in SLS and Delta 4. But this new age of methane-powered engines is going to be super exciting.
It is.
Everyone here is buzzing. Everyone is so excited. I know this stream isn't about Vulcan, but it has to be talked about, because literally on the pad next door to Vulcan, Falcon 9 is getting ready to fly here in not too long.
Yep.
Just crazy times.
And I mean, whenever kids draw a rocket, so when I was a kid, whenever you draw a rocket, it's always got orange exhaust or red exhaust. I've seen
Right.
some team members here, their children's photos, and it's orange or red exhaust. Do you think when our kids are going to be growing up, they'll be drawing rockets with purple exhaust because of Starship and Vulcan and Terran and Neutron? Oh,
It's difficult to think about people getting used to how the exhaust of methane-powered engines looks as similar to how we feel about Keralox engines right now. It's a super weird thought, because Methalox engines are still brand new to us, really, at least from a visual perspective, because the only rockets that have flown from the U.S. that have used methane has of course been Starship now twice and Terran 1 once last March. And it has a completely different look compared to RP1 or solid rocket motors. So everyone here is just buzzing.
That's going to be awesome. Well, while we're excited for Vulcan to be launching tonight, again, just under 9 hours away from right now, we can focus on the launch that is just under 13 minutes away from right now. So Falcon 9 is still deep into propellant loading. We have propellant loading into both stages, all 4 tanks. We're getting ready to send some Starlink satellites into orbit today. All right, let's see. We've got some more questions coming through here. Dennis Weaver here is asking, are the Falcon fairings left and right-handed, or are they symmetrical and fully interchangeable? Adrian, do you have an answer to that? Are they symmetrical, or are there 2 types of fairings?
To my knowledge, it's an active and a passive part, right? There's 2 kinds of fairings, so they are not interchangeable. So they are different parts, and they have served different purposes. And the active part, I think, handles a bit more in terms of the basically the separation maneuver, hence being called the active part. So no, you cannot just combine 2 actives or 2 passives. So it has to always to be 1 active and 1 passive. I do not believe we know if they are always used in pairs, but so far I think we like any indication that they are not used. Well, actually, they have used some fairing, perhaps different. Now I'm questioning my own memory and waiting for Alex to type, because now thinking about, is this just half? Okay, there we go. They have used fairing house with different flights. Yeah, I was like questioning my own memory there mid-sentence.
They can mix and match different fairings, but yeah, you need to have an active and a passive fairing half.
Yes.
And there we go. Got a live view from Fleet Cam in Port Canaveral there. Let's see, moving on to another question. We have one from Juan here, and they're asking, what is the trajectory for this Starlink launch? So I'll give us a quick overview of the trajectory we're going to be seeing tonight. So like all like all Starlink Group 6 launches that we've seen recently, Falcon 9 is going to be launching to the southeast. So it'll be launching out of Cape Canaveral. It'll be doing a dogleg to the southeast, flying just above the Bahamas. You can see there that is the general flight path and the closure zones for this launch. The red zone near Cape Canaveral, that is the general kind of keep out zone for the area around the launch site. Then towards the bottom right, that very large oval shape that is orange, that is the landing zone. So that's where the first stage is going to be landing. That's where the fairing halves are going to be landing. And it's also a contingency just in case on the off chance the second stage doesn't ignite for its second stage ignition, it will fall harmlessly into that area. So that's a very busy area right there in terms of recovery and contingencies. But should all go well, second stage is going to continue southeast. It's going to pass underneath Africa, and after several orbits, it's going to deorbit itself. You could see that very long kind of sort of stretched rectangle shape there. That closure zone is for the second stage deorbit. That's going to happen several orbits into today's mission. They're going to reignite the second stage engine to bring it back and burn up into Earth's atmosphere. That's going to be following second stage 2 burns today. So we're going to have the one burn to get into a parking orbit, and then a second burn about 40 minutes or so into the 40 minutes after liftoff to circularize into a higher orbit to deploy the satellites. So that's the trajectory we're looking at tonight. And yeah, it's going to be a pretty routine Starlink launch. We see this quite often on these types of missions. All right, let's see. David Freeman here is... Oh, go ahead, Adrian.
I wish they would use the northern trajectory out of the Cape a bit more, because that leads a lot of times to second stages flying over Europe, which is cool. But if they go the other direction, it basically results always in this, this more far away situation for Europe. But sometimes, especially on ISS launches, you can see the second stage over Europe, which is cool.
I really do like the Northeast Corridor as well. So the Northeast Corridor, they fly them for ISS missions. They used to fly them for early Starlink missions. So I live up in Pennsylvania, and for me, it's very easy to see a Falcon 9 or Atlas 5 or whatever launch when they go northeast. And I loved seeing Starlinks at night. I saw some jellyfishes, and it was overall great to see. And unfortunately, they don't do that anymore. But it was fun while it lasted. And I hope that when they bring Starship online from Cape Canaveral, maybe they can do a few northeast launches just for me, please. But yeah, that's something that I do miss, and they have now moved to the southeast trajectory for a few reasons. First off, it affects ocean and airplane traffic less. So coming in from Europe, if you have ships or planes coming in, you need to close off the airspace that they usually fly into to get to, Atlanta or Orlando. So you clear up some range there. But as well, in the wintertime, flying to the northeast is often the ocean's a bit stormier up there in the winter. So flying to the southeast, it's a bit warmer and it's a bit less messy given all the winter storms coming through. All right, David Freeman here is asking, I'm going to send this to both you, Adrian, and Max. They're asking, what's your over-under predictions for the total number of Starlink flights in 2024? So we know that SpaceX is aiming for 144 missions this year. First off, Adrian and Max, I want to ask you, Adrian, how many Falcon 9s do you think we're going to launch this year? I'm going to try to bring that question around to general Falcon 9. What do you think we're going to see this year?
I'm going to say 135. I think they will miss their 144, but barely.
Is that because of STS 135, Adrian?
I mean,
are you biased? Is that some sort of bias?
I just no. Well, I just think I don't even know how I arrived at that number now.
Adrian's getting frustrated.
You have to give your number as well, Max. So I would be careful here.
So I believe there's only 2 Falcon Heavies on the docket for this year. I could be wrong, but I think it's only 2. But of the 144 scheduled, I'm going to say ballpark between 120 and 130, probably around 125, I guess, just to split it evenly. Because of course, they ended up flying around 90, was it 96 or 97 times last year?
99, I think, overall, including Starship. But I think, yeah, with Falcon, it would just
Yeah,
be
right,
97.
with Falcon. Okay. I think especially if they if they increase the cadence with RTLS trajectories, I can easily see them breaking into the 120s, maybe even the 130s if they push hard enough. But
I agree.
um, that's what I would say.
I do agree. And Max, I did look it up on nextspaceflight.com, which is a great way to keep track of upcoming missions. And there are currently 3 Falcon Heavy launches scheduled for this year. So we have GOES-U, the geostationary, I actually forget the acronym, but it's a weather satellite for NOAA and NASA. It's a backup
Okay.
being launched in April. We have Europa Clipper in October. And then we have in no earlier than November, the Griffin Mission 1, so a lunar lander launching on Falcon Heavy.
Copy. Okay.
Given how early we are in the year, you might get a delay into 2025 for that last mission in November. And then in 2025, we're looking at anywhere between, 4 to 5 Falcon Heavy launches as well. And speaking of launches, as we were getting down below T-minus 5 minutes, Max, I'm going to send you off comms here. Get ready for launch. Get your things all prepped to track this mission. And Godspeed. Best of luck. We're excited to see what you can do.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. It is a privilege getting to see Falcon 9 fly in the daylight for once. So I will see you both on the other side.
Absolutely. Good luck, sir. All right, going to really quickly run through some more support we've gotten. I got to thank everyone for being super generous on this stream. I think we may have some Vulcan hype or maybe some early afternoon or early evening Starlink launch hype. Again, it's weird seeing the sky bright during a Starlink launch. Coco here. Oh, some nice shots of the clouds there from the press site.
It's called Starlink and not Sunlink, right?
The sun is a star.
Yeah, but you ruined my. Go on.
Know. I like ruining your jokes, Adrian. All right, Coco Cat's here with gifting 1 Red Team membership. Thank you for that. RC Horseman is also gifted 1 Red Team membership. Morgan Matthews has become a Pad Rat member, so thank you for all your support there. Brenda here ordering 2 items from the store saying NSF rocks and thanks for all you do. They've been fascinated by space travel ever since they were a kid, and they're still fascinated at the age of 72. Well, Brenda, excuse me, that is awesome to hear, and we're glad that you have had a lifelong passion in spaceflight and that we are able to, feed your hunger for spaceflight. We're glad to see you here, and thank you for the support from shop.nasaspaceflight.com. Todd Johnson here with a $25 super chat saying, to get a pizza, glad you guys cover all of this for us. Well, we're glad to, and we're happy to provide this footage for you guys. So thank you for that support, Todd. We really appreciate your $25 super chat. Bruce Bennett here with a $10 super chat with no message, but still thank you very much. We appreciate your support. And Jerwa, another regular here with saying, YASL, yet another Starlink launch. You know it. You guys know the drill. Starlinks today, Starlinks tomorrow, Starlinks always. I think it's a joke. I don't think there's a Starlink launch tomorrow. Anyway,
No.
we're getting below.
But I love the fact that you need to question yourself. You're like, I don't think there's a Starlink launch tomorrow.
I'm actually going to check next spaceflight real quick. Okay, no. So the next one is this coming Wednesday. So hope you guys can wait the 3 days until Wednesday from Vandenberg. Anyway, we're getting below 2 minutes and 30 seconds here in today's countdown. Adrian, do you want to give us a quick overview as to what to expect here in the last few moments? We just heard stage 1 liquid oxygen loading is complete. So we're getting real close to the countdown here.
Yeah, right now we are in a situation where Falcon 9 is already in, since 7 minutes before T0, in engine chill as well, to precondition the 9 Merlin engines ahead of ignition. And also we, at 1 minute, will see the flight computer take over for final pre-launch checkouts as the rocket turns to internal power. And also the propellant tanks will be pressurized to flight pressure at T-minus 1 minute. At 45 seconds, the SpaceX launch director will verify then go for launch. And then at T-minus 3 seconds, the engine controller will command ignition sequence to start. And hopefully, after all of that, we will then see Falcon 9 flying to space. That's
awesome.
Basically what we are expecting.
Now we're just below T-minus 90 seconds here, or T-minus 1 minute and 30 seconds. We're getting some final venting there from the transporter. Now, Adrian, what they're doing there, they're venting out all the remaining propellants there, right, to kind of save it before launch?
Yeah, basically it's all line perching because you don't want to have like something that can ignite, and usually things you put into your rocket are able to ignite. So basically perching everything before launch, because otherwise you will have still either liquid oxygen or RP1 in the lines when they go for ignition.
All right, now we're past T-minus 50 seconds. Coming up on the final go for launch in the coming seconds here from the launch director.
Which should come any second from now. We're just waiting for it. And as soon as that is coming, then we are basically
We're
ready.
in startup. T-minus
Okay.
30 seconds. Seeing some final venting there, just passing T-minus 25.
Here we go.
Now, as always, we're going to be quiet right after engine ignition. We want to let you enjoy the sounds of launch here. Just as we pass T-minus 15, we are go for launch.
Yep, you might see the green flash. You will see, I think, the deluge being activated very soon.
Yep.
There it is. There's the deluge. And
There we go, engine ignition. And liftoff, Falcon 9 carrying another 23 Starlink V2 mini satellites into low Earth orbit. Again, a very routine mission. We're going to sit back, relax, and let you enjoy all of this beautiful launch audio. We'll see you on the other side.
did you hear that VAB squeal? Like that sound was.
did.
That sounds was so audible.
That was a long screech there. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So now we're coming up on T plus 2 minutes. Vehicle supersonic. It's gone through max Q, and we're about a third of the way into space. Coming up in the next few seconds, in about 27 seconds, we're going to have main engine cutoff. Those 9 engines you can see firing there are going to shut down. But before they shut down, let's admire this plume here. I love seeing the exhaust expansion every single time from both our up-close and downrange shots like this. You can still hear the little tremors of audio coming through.
And we're getting already after Miko, the second stage will continue the journey of the Starlink satellites to orbit, while the first stage will start its return to a shortfall of gravitas.
We're coming up on second stage ignition here. And
There it is, right?
Second stage is igniting, and it's going to carry the Starlink satellites into a parking orbit now. It's going to burn for about 6 minutes and then shut down ahead of a 50-minute coast. Now keep an eye out just above that second stage firing. You can see a little puffs from the RCS on the first stage as it reorients itself ahead of the entry burn just a few minutes from now. And getting some gorgeous shots here of the plume expansion, thanks in part to this being a daytime launch. We have a bit of the sun on our side here. You can see fairing separation. Those 2 bright dots just came off the second stage. Watch them tumble. Also keep an eye on them. You may, if we're lucky, you may see some puffs of the fairing RCS as well. It's not super common, but we may get a glimpse of it. Get some onboard shots there just after fairing separation. We can see the first stage coasting up to apogee on the left, and the second stage continuing to orbit on the right. Some gorgeous shots.
You can see basically like all 4 objects involved in this launch on the same screen. That's kind of cool.
Very cool. We love to see that. And again, that first stage is going to be landing on the drone ship, a shortfall of gravitas. Those fairings are going to be landing in the open ocean. So those will be parachute-assisted landing. Happens around 45 minutes after liftoff. It really depends on the atmosphere and the orbit height, things like that. But it's going to be a little while from now till those fairings gently touch down in the ocean under their chute. And again, we're seeing some onboard shots here. Second stage is continuing to burn nominally. The next event we're going to be looking forward to is at T plus 6 minutes and 13 seconds, so just under 2 minutes from right now. We're going to see the entry burn of the first stage. Now, Adrian, before we get to the entry burn, can you give us kind of an overview of what is the entry burn, what does it do, and why is it there?
Yeah, basically, as of now, the Falcon 9 would hit the atmosphere, well, kind of too hard, right? Too fast, because it still has carrying a lot of energy from carrying the second stage and the Starlinks all the way here. So what SpaceX does is slow it down. They use some of the propellant they have available to protect the rocket and also slow it down significantly before it hits like the really crunchy part of the atmosphere where friction and heat would increase significantly. So it's a way to protect the rocket because it's what SpaceX thinks is needed to structurally survive re-entry.
Is that a proper engineering term, the crunchy portion of the atmosphere? Because if so, we need to make that a thing.
It's a technical term. It's very technical.
I do remember that from my advanced aerodynamics classes, yes. Yep. But yeah, like, I love the interstage shot here. It's something we don't get too often. You see some of the tubing there floating around from the second stage connection. That's where they vent some gases off the second stage prior to liftoff. Now again, we're coming up here on the entry burn. We have some people in chat here asking, I want to clarify, this is a downrange landing. So this will be landing on a drone ship, which is also sometimes casually called the barge, specifically named a shortfall of gravitas. There have been proposals, we did discuss them a little bit, there are proposals about return to launch site landings of the Falcon 9 for Starlink missions. This is not one of those missions, but that is a possibility coming up in the next few weeks or months. But for right now, we are dealing with a downrange landing, just like all prior Starlink missions.
I love how Chad just decided that crunchy is indeed a good term, and it's from here now adopted.
I think so. I'm gonna, I don't know who I'd email, but I'll email the person in charge of aerodynamics.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. It's canon.
We will. And right on time, we have that entry burn startup. Now it's doing a 1-3-1 burn, which means the center engine, or one engine, ignites, followed by 2 outer engines that will burn for a little bit, and then we will shut down the 2 outer engines, and then shut down the center engine, so a 1-3-1. And again, this is slowing down the vehicle and also acting as a sort of heat shield. It's called supersonic retropropulsion. It's a fun thing to say. Basically, you're using the plume from your engines as a heat shield, which sounds really counterintuitive, but without going into the thermodynamics, it works.
There we go. The booster has completed the entry burn.
Yes, sir. And keep an eye on those grid fins. We might see some re-entry effects or possibly some really cool aerodynamic effects as it goes transonic. And again, we're seeing those grid fins start to come into play here. We're just under 20 kilometers in altitude in the atmosphere. That's a loss of signal there. That happens quite often on these missions. It's very turbulent up there. You have a fast-moving rocket that you can't always keep signal lock on.
Yep.
Meanwhile,
it's always like these special missions where we actually get like continuous signal from start to landing.
Yep. Seeing some little bits of telemetry there from the first stage. Either way, we're about 20 seconds away from landing. Meanwhile, the second stage on the right is continuing to burn most of the way to orbit right now. That will shut down right after the first stage lands. Now, stage 1 is beginning to enter the transonic regime. That is when the stage goes from supersonic to subsonic, and that is right when we ignite the engine.
There it comes up. We should see engine landing burn very, very soon. And I think that's it.
We have ignition. Look at that velocity rapidly being trimmed. It's only a single engine, but those Merlins pack a lot of punch for a single engine. Down through the clouds, we see a view of the drone ship.
Bet the booster's happy every time it sees the clouds and then it's the drone ship under it.
Yeah, it's like, surprise, and another landing here. Seeing some little sparks there, but that is very normal. We see a little bit of excess fire coming off the vehicle usually. And now booster 1067-17. So this booster is going to be brought back to Cape Canaveral or Port Canaveral over the next few days, and then refurbished and brought ready for its 17th flight. We can see
We have
also
Seco 1.
took the words right out of my mouth, Adrian. We make a good team here. Now that is the first of 2 burns there for that second stage. That's injecting the satellites into a low parking orbit. And then in about 40 minutes, the satellite or the second stage is going to reignite to get the satellites into their final orbit ahead of deploy. But that is quite a while away. We're not going to be covering that part, but we are looking instead at the launch. And what a great sign here, Adrian. As Doss always likes to say, his favorite view on launch day is an empty launch pad. So beautiful launch there. We had just before sunset. Real quick, I want to thank some support we had just before we end our stream here. From Norman, we have a $20 super chat saying they're going to be 72 on Thursday. First off, early happy birthday, Norman. I hope it's a great year for you. And they echo Brenda's sentiments. They still remember watching a man in space with a candle flame booster exhaust. Yeah, it's amazing what they did for effects back then. And I mean, a candle gets the job done. Thank you for the support, Norman, and we appreciate that. And we also appreciate your story there. Thank you for that, and happy birthday. Jerwa here with a $2 super chat saying they're old and they're not going to make it to 2 a.m. Vulcan. I understand that it is late in the night for some people. I work best at around 1 or 2 a.m., so it's going to be fine for me. But yeah, I understand if you have to catch up tomorrow. And yeah, definitely be sure to watch the live stream again tomorrow. We'll have it up on the channel. Jerwa has also gifted 20 Red Team memberships. Thank you for that incredible amount of support and really giving back to the community. We love to see people paying it back by gifting memberships and kind of extending the favor back to everyone there in the community. Max, do we have you on comms again, or are you still out in the field?
I would sure hope so. How do you have me?
I hear you 5x5. How was that launch? That was a gorgeous vapor cone you were talking about there.
Oh yeah, crispy. There must have been a layer of moisture up in the atmosphere right as Falcon 9 was starting to go supersonic, and it produced this beautiful like rainbow vapor ring as it was going supersonic. It was glorious. Also, with the air being so crispy, I would say that it sounded crispy as well. I mean, we heard it about as soon as we normally do, but the sound carried very well. And on top of these glorious sunset conditions too, it was absolutely spectacular. And of course, there's a layer in the atmosphere where the Merlin's exhaust condenses, and it leaves some kind of vapor trail as it descends. And of course, based on where the sun is right now, the very bottom part of it was not lit by the sun, but as it ascended into the sunlight, the plume went from like a dark gray up into this very bright white as it hit the sunlight. It was spectacular.
That's a beautiful description, and it was gorgeous to see there. Also, yeah, you mentioned the audio that lasted long. That was well into like second stage flight there. That was great to see. And that's
Absolutely.
that was one of the things that surprised me when I saw my first launches from Wallops. It's the sound lasts so much longer than you would expect. It's a rocket launch is an experience that you need to, if you haven't seen one already, you need to see a rocket launch. Also, we have some other people out here in the field. We have Julia Bergeron capturing another beautiful picture there of a crowd watching today's mission. And man, that low-level clouds, that really came out to play here. That's gorgeous right there. Again, a great shot from Julia. She also was out on a boat here for I forget what it's called, Starfleet Tours earlier today. Got some great pictures up on her Twitter of that. And Max, I'm also excited to see your footage that you got as well. So everyone, be sure to follow Max on Twitter if you haven't already, Max Evans, to see his footage from today and his pictures. But that does not end the excitement for today. Coming up in just under 6 hours, we're going to be going live again. So if you're not sick of us already, come on back in just under 6 hours when we go live for the first flight of Vulcan, the Certification 1 flight. This is going to be a fun flight, not just because it's a first flight of a new rocket, but also it's going to the moon. This is sending a lander to the moon, the Peregrine missions, as part of the Artemis program. So very cool mission tonight, double header going on. And yeah, so be sure to come back. That launch will be at... Go ahead, Adrian.
Just to point that out, we have already a link for that stream that will go live. We will go live very early for that, and I will make sure to post that in chat if people already want to like bookmark that or something.
Already have almost 200 people waiting there for that. Yeah, that'll be going live at 12:45 a.m. Eastern Time, ahead of launch at 2:18 a.m. Eastern Time. So, again, I believe, Adrian, you said that was 7:18 UTC, so you could adjust accordingly. But yeah, after that, we are going to be seeing you in just under 6 hours. Hope you get some rest, get some dinner, and we will see you at 12:45 for the launch of Vulcan. First off, I'd like to thank the people who I had alongside me on the stream today. Thank you, Adrian, for for joining me as a co-host.
I'm glad I tuned in. No, I'm glad I was here. It was a fun one, and I'm also looking forward. I mean, if you have not, I am giving shoutouts here to NSF Live today with Stoke Space. It was an absolutely amazing episode, and I think Andy shared some really cool insight there. So make sure to check that out if you haven't. I think that was a really, really, really cool episode.
I'm going to be checking that out after this for sure. I didn't have time earlier today, but yeah, once again, I'm going to be checking out NSF Live with Stoke Space CEO Andy. Also, thank you, Max, out in the field for giving us these live views. Not this one we're looking at right now, but a live view of Falcon 9. Thank you for that.
Hey, I'm always happy to do it. And this is not a goodbye, everybody. This is a see you later, because as Ian already said, we are going to see all of you right in early tomorrow morning, or still today, depending on where you are in the world. But pleasure as always having everyone along, and we will see you in a few hours.
Awesome. And I was your host for tonight, Ian Atkinson. As always, it's a pleasure to host these Starlink launches for you. And again, like we've been saying, come back in just under 6 hours for the first launch of ULA's Vulcan rocket. This was the launch of 23 Starlink satellites on Starlink 6-35. It was just your appetizer for tonight. We're going to send you over to Space Coast Live so you can check in on everything happening around sunset, as well as propellant loading on Vulcan, which will be starting in just a few hours. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some beautiful shots of the Space Coast, and we will see you back for live commentary of the Vulcan launch in just under 6 hours. Have a good rest of your evening, everyone.